Hello, Infiniteers! Today we are going to finish the build exercise for the Axiom by building the hangar bay, where Wall-E finds himself when he first arrives on the Axiom. And that's going to go in here through this doorway. Here are some screenshots of this location from the movie. Eve's ship is brought into the hangar bay sideways. The hangar doors are on the left, and in this shot they are open. On the far wall is the BNL logo, and you can see that the top part of that wall is divided up into vertical sections. The floor of the hangar bay looks like it has some guide rails and lights. As for the ceiling, you can get a better look at that from this shot. Notice it is arched, with a shorter wall on the right than on the left. In this shot, the hangar bay doors are closed. To the right of the spaceship is a platform with two huge arms that have grabbed the ship to hold it in place. It looks like there are windows along the sides of the platform, and beneath the platform are some pillars to hold it up. This shot gives you a look at the top of the platform, as well as the short wall along the back of the hangar bay, where the arched roof comes down. There's a lot of detail along that wall that I don't think we have any way of replicating in the toy box, or at least a good way. This screenshot gives us our only look at the one remaining wall of the hangar bay, and it looks like it's the same as the one on the opposite side of the hangar, with the BNL logo on it. And here's another look at the back wall of the hangar bay and the top of the platform. Now, after the ship docks, these little robots come out of a storage bin at the back of the hangar bay, and they wait for the white line to appear, and then they follow the white line around the ship, around to the ship to service Eve. After they scan Eve and discover that she has fulfilled her directive, they place her on a gurney, and they take her to the elevator at the back of the hangar bay. Wall-E tags along, and he rides with her up the elevator to the interior corridors of the ship, which we built a couple of episodes ago. So the hangar bay is what I want to build today, and this is the last of the key areas of the Axiom that I want to include in my toy box. There are other places that would be nice to add, such as the bridge and the garbage chute, but if you look at the memory meter on the right, I just don't have the memory for that. And so we're not going to be able to put any more in my toy box than this. Now, to build this area, we will need the Calhoun's Command Terrain Customization Power Disk, which will give us a wall texture that we can use for the elevator and the hangar bay. And let me put that on my base. And I do not want to switch my entire world to that. If you don't have this power disk, you can use the on-the-grid terrain customization power disk that we used here for the floors, and the sides of that look like this. And that would be okay for the sides of the hangar bay and the elevator as well. But I like Calhoun's Command a little bit better. And again, if you don't have that terrain theme, then you could use the Kiln terrain theme. Alright, so we're going to start here by framing in our elevator shaft, and I'm going to use this tiny terrain block. We want to place it here right next to those crates, and this will be one wall of the elevator shaft. And I want to change the theme on this to use Calhoun's Command. I like the sides of that wall. It just looks decent. To me, it looks a little bit better than the on-the-grid version. And then we're going to place another one right over here and place this 2 blocks high. And you'll notice it sticks down below the back terrain piece there. That's okay. You can fill in that gap using one of these pieces, like so. And then we'll come over here and use this piece to do the back wall of the elevator shaft. So there we have an elevator shaft that's going to take us down to the hangar bay. Okay? And let me get my screen grab here. All right. Now, we're going to scroll over and pick up this terrain block. And we want to put this right on the corner of this side of the elevator shaft, lined up flush with the wall of the elevator shaft. So just like that. Okay, so that the wall here is smooth. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Bring it out like that. And again, it needs to be flush with this wall, and it also needs to be flush with the outside of that terrain block, just like you see there. Okay, and then for the back wall here of the elevator shaft, we're going to use this tall terrain block. We'll drop down 2 of those like that. Okay, let me see here. Yeah. All right. Now, for the ceiling of the hangar bay, we're going to put it right at this level, and we're going to put 5 of these blocks down this way. That's going to be the top edge of the roof, and the ceiling is going to angle upward from there. And to do that, we're going to use a piece from the blocks drawer, which is this long support arch. We're going to bring this down and drop it right here like that, and I believe it is the long arch. Let me just double check that. Yes, long support arch. And for the theme on this, we're going to use one of the Star Wars themes. We scroll over to the left a little ways till we get to those. We're going to use the Hoth Hangar wall. I'll set that to be my theme. Okay. Just add some really nice detail. Okay, and then what I want to do here is we're going to do 3 of these. Leave a gap for another block. Put in 3. And a gap for another block. 1, 2, 3. And a gap. 1, 2, 3. We're going to come in and fill those gaps in a moment. We want to come back then and pick up the tall vertical block here. We want to drop this down right in the corner like that. We're going to put 2 of those there. We're going to do the same thing on the other end. 2 of those there. Okay. And that is it for that texture theme. And then, let's see, what would be the best thing to do? Let's go back and pick up our arch beam here. And we're going to change the theme on this. If you scroll over to the left, we're looking for the steel theme. If you remember in the screenshot, it looked like there were some tracks that went along the ceiling for cranes and things. So that's what we're doing here, is kind of simulating that. And it breaks up the ceiling a little bit and adds some visual interest, which I think is very helpful. So that looks good. All right, then we'll come back here and pick this up, put it down. And now we're going to change the theme on this to be Concrete 2. This is going to be for those divided sections along the sides of the hangar bay. Here is concrete too. I'll set that to be my theme. That is a pretty close approximation to what we had in the movie there. And I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll do the same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And then let's come back to the terrain and pick this piece up, put it down without moving it. Scroll over and pick up this flat terrain block, and I want to bring this out and drop this right down here, lined up with the edge of those blocks and right up against that terrain block like you see there. Do that on that side. Do that on that side. Okay, so that we have a flat surface here on either side. And then on the edge, we'll put in one of these short blocks, just to kind of frame it in. So there's the sides of the hangar bay. So that looks pretty good. Now we'll pick this piece up, put it back, go to the next size larger. We want to put in the floor of the hangar bay. So that's going to sit down like that. Doesn't have to be exact. And put that in like that. And you can leave it like this if you want. If you want to use the on the grid Tron theme, like we have up here on these floors, you can do that. Make sure the lines are going this direction. That would line up most closely with the movie. And I think that would work pretty good. Alright, let's pick this piece up here again, this tall terrain block, and we're going to fill in the rest of the floor for the elevator there. Like that. Okay. Alright, this is looking pretty decent. Now, I think before we put in the rest of the ceiling, it's probably going to be good to put in our platform here. And to do that, once again, I want to use this piece from the Star Command pieces. This long walkway from Building Sets Group 5. And I want this to sit in here about like that, but I want it to be a little shorter, so it needs to sit inside this block. And to do this, we're going to have to use a path. And to kind of help us with that, what I want to do first is fill in this back wall here with some detail, because this doesn't really match the movie. I like the sides over here. I mean, that's decent, but along the back here, I want to put in some other detail. And so I think the quickest way to do that is going to be pick up one of these pieces to get back to that part of the drawer. And we're going to flip this around, put this right back here, lined up against the back of this wall, like that. And this won't go all the way over. You're going to have a little bit of a gap there, but that's okay. Okay, and then this will be the entrance to the elevator shaft here. Now, to put that ledge in, that platform, we're going to need a path. So we'll come up to the Creativitoys once again, select the Path Creator tool, and this will be a lot easier than what we did last time for the railings in the repair ward. But let me look for my screen grab here. Okay, so we want to line it up with this first light panel here past the doorway. And I want to bring this down. We're going to start at the corner of the wall here, right below that light. And we're going to go 3 nudges out from the wall and down 2. And this is where we'll place our path point. Okay? And then we'll place our second point just right above it like that and exit. And again, the platform there is going to sit on top of this, which will put the top edge of the platform right at the bottom edge of this wall. So that's why this is down this far. We'll go into the properties for this and turn off auto start objects when connected. Okay, and then we are going to select our platform here, open the logic menu, do a new path connection, connect that to our path. And there is our floating platform. And it doesn't look exactly like what's in the movie, but it doesn't look too bad. I think it looks fairly decent. It's kind of floating above the surface of the floor there. And that looks pretty good to me. And now let's go grab the start pad, which we had left way out here in the resort area earlier. And let's bring that to the hangar bay, because that's where we really want Wally and the player to start when they begin this toy box. Because that's where Wally first arrives on the Axiom. So that's where the player should first arrive on the Axiom. This is a big toy box, isn't it? And this is on a Wii U. Granted, I've got the one with the deluxe model with the most memory, but still, that's more memory than you've got, or not as much memory as you've got on a PlayStation or an Xbox or even a PC. And yet, look at the size of what we have. So if you're good with your choices and you're building something, and you're creative, you can make something that will fit your memory. Okay, if the player falls off that platform, I want to give them a way to get back up on this thing. So I think the best way to do this, rather than scroll through the drawers there, is to come back over here. And let's pick up this elevator here. So I'm going to pick that up, put it back, and that gets us right to these climbing pipes that we can use to give the player something that will get them out of the floor of the hangar here. And it looks like we'll need the tall one. We'll put this right on the corner, just like that. So that way if they fall down, they can get back up. And we'll add a couple of details here to the hangar floor. Come back to building sets group 5. I think if we go to the left, I'm looking for the Death Star pipes. Here we go. And this just adds kind of a nice little detail here. We can put one on the other side of the hangar bay as well. And of course, for the ship, we'll use the same one that we used for Eve's ship in the first toy box in our adventure, which is the Hoth transport. We'll flip this around, and I want this to be up at the level of the platform. If you remember from that screenshot, the ship wasn't sitting on the floor of the bay, it was actually floating above it. So we'll do the same thing, and we're going to bring this over till it's just touching our platform. That bounding box is, and that puts it right there. So there's our ship. Okay, this is taking shape nicely. All right, now for the ceiling, we're going to come back over here and we're going to use the same platform piece that we used last time for the ceiling in the repair ward. That just has the nice lights here, which look really good. So we're going to drop these in here like this. And we'll do 2 wide. And if you want, you can flip these around so they're not quite so repetitive with that dangling cable. And I think that would be a good thing. You don't want the player to look up and see a repeating pattern. Variety is obviously a good thing, usually. Alright, so that gives us a nice ceiling for our hangar bay. But that doesn't go all the way over, and so once again, let's come pick this little piece up that we used earlier. And we'll put a row of these along the front. Like that. And then we'll put a couple of those out like that. Oops. Up against there. And that plugs the gap that's behind those lights over here. And now that is looking really sharp. I like that a lot. Okay, let me just double check my screen grab here and make sure I didn't miss anything. Doesn't look like that I did. And there's our hangar bay. So when we start here, this is what we see. And that looks pretty close to what we have in the movie, except for the sky out that way. But we'll take care of that next time. And with that, the build exercise for the Axiom is done, except for the ceiling that we're going to need to put over top of the Axiom's interior corridors. But we're going to put that on at the end. Next time, we'll start working on the logic for this toy box, beginning with the elevator in the hangar bay and the sky change that will allow us to see a nice star field when we're in the hangar bay and the resort sky when we're in the rest of the ship. Until then, I want to thank you for watching, and now that the build exercise is done, let me know in the comments what you think of the hangar bay and the rest of the ship. I'd love to hear from you, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe for more toy box builds like this. That's all for me today. See you next time.